When you're trying to decide whether to spend a few $100s on an outdoor TV, the biggest question is always the same: will it actually work where I need it, or am I just buying a fancy paperweight that'll get ruined by the first rainstorm? I get that hesitation, because a TV that can sit under a patio umbrella, survive a summer thunderstorm, and still look good while you're watching the game isn't something you see every day. In this review, I'm going to walk through the real-world experience of the SunBrite Veranda 2 Series 43-inch full-shade model, break down where the value really lies, and help you decide if it's the right fit for your backyard, poolside lounge, or cabin deck. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, what makes an outdoor TV different from a regular indoor set isn't just the waterproof seal. It's the whole ecosystem of weather, temperature swings, glare, and the fact that you're often looking at it from a distance or an angle you don't get on a living room couch. The Veranda 2 is built specifically for those conditions. The casing is a rugged, UV-protected polymer that SunBrite says can handle full sun, rain, snow, and even salty sea air without fading or corroding. In practice, that means you can leave it permanently mounted under a pergola that gets direct sunlight all day and still expect the picture to stay bright and the enclosure to stay intact. I've seen a lot of outdoor setups where people end up adding a cheap indoor TV to a covered patio, only to discover it fogs up after a few weeks because the humidity gets trapped inside. The Veranda 2's design includes internal ventilation that lets moisture escape while keeping rain out. For someone who lives in a humid climate like the Gulf Coast, that alone can be a deal-breaker. It also has an all-weather remote that's sealed against the elements, so you don't have to keep a spare indoor remote in a box just to change the channel when you're outside. Now, let's talk about picture quality in a place where the sun can be relentless. The screen is a direct-lit LED panel with 4K HDR support. On paper that sounds impressive, but the real question is whether the extra resolution and HDR make a difference when you're watching from a few feet away under bright light. In my tests, the TV held up surprisingly well. The brightness levels are higher than a typical indoor TV, which helps push through glare, and the HDR processing adds a little extra punch to colors without oversaturating them. If you're streaming a nature documentary or a sports game, the details stay visible even when the sun is high. That said, the picture does lose a bit of contrast compared to a premium indoor 4K set, which is something to expect when you're trading off a sealed enclosure for outdoor durability. Audio is another practical point. The Veranda 2 comes with built-in speakers that are tuned for outdoor listening. They're not going to replace a dedicated sound system, but they're loud enough to be heard over the background noise of a pool pump or a summer breeze. In a small patio setting, you can actually enjoy a movie without needing a separate soundbar. If you have a larger deck or you plan to host parties, you'll probably still want to pair it with external speakers, but you won't be starting from silence. Connectivity is where the Veranda 2 shows its flexibility. It offers HDMI 2.0 ports, a USB slot, and a Wi-Fi module that works with most streaming apps. The HDMI inputs are useful if you want to hook up a cable box, a Roku, or a gaming console for outdoor gaming sessions. The USB port can read media files directly, which is handy for playing a family video on a summer barbecue without pulling out your phone. One practical limitation I noticed is that the remote only controls basic functions. For anything more advanced like adjusting picture settings, you'll need to use a mobile app from inside the house. That isn't a huge inconvenience, but it's worth noting if you like fine-tuning your picture. Who should consider buying this TV? If you have a permanent, covered outdoor space that you use year-round, think a screened porch, a covered deck, or a garden room, this model makes a lot of sense. The price point sits between a standard indoor TV and the high-end outdoor units that can run into the thousands, so for a family that watches the big game outside or wants to stream movies while the kids play in the yard, the Veranda 2 delivers a solid balance of durability and picture quality. It's also a good match for people in climates with frequent rain or snow. The sealed design means you can leave it mounted all winter without worrying about frost damage. On the other hand, there are buyers who should probably skip it. If you only need a TV for occasional patio use like a summer weekend and then you bring it inside for the rest of the year, you'll